episode of DevKami, and I'm Chi Leong.
And I'm Sui Ming.
Yeah. And what are we supposed to talk
about? Well, obviously not the 10/10 sale happening next month. Next month.
Actually, there's nothing much going on.
Yeah, this truth number one, you will almost never get good sales because the price is actually the same before and after sale.
It's actually the same. They just call it. They just bump up the original price.
Yeah. That being said, we have today we have a few events, but already too late. We can't go now. We're Elixir meetup, React meetup, and the AIKL meetup had a networking mixer to find co-founder.
Today as well. Okay.
So then we have something over the weekend. We have Machine Learning Bootcamp at GDGKL. This is happening at ADEX at Bangsa South. They already doing quite a few of these. So you can find out from GDGKL. Then
and Google Cloud Study Jam.
Yeah. Yes. So this is happening at Upbeat at Technology Park on the same day, but this is at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yeah. This is the one that Ivan talked about, right?
Correct.
Like the one that where originally he got Ivan to talk about Kubernetes originally.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Then we had then what happened? We have
nothing.
Oh, then I think that's pretty much it until next week. And but that's another story. That's next DevKami.
Yeah.
So what's interesting happening for the last week?
Yeah, what's happening?
Well, for one, I actually paid for my WAP subscription.
What is WAP?
From
WAP. Yeah, it's launched.
So let's give a background. You want to do a background or I do a background? I think you do a background.
Yeah, you do a background.
Familiar.
No, you just do a background.
Okay. So Cloudflare, the DNS provider, actually originally provide a DNS service called 1.1.1. It's something similar to Google 8.8.8.8. So it's a public DNS resolver that you can use that is not from your ISP. So, but Cloudflare doing one step further, they also provide a VPN service. This actually helps you to improve your network performance and encrypt your network, but they do not do the whole thing like what VPN provider does. That is try to mask you from another country to get certain content, but not. You do not get that.
They just do.
But you do get
encryption.
Masking. Yeah, they do encryption and network performance.
So they just do a masking of your network traffic.
Correct. So it's they got two. You got and get the basic service for free, but you got WAP Plus. So the VPN service is called WAP. WAP is free. WAP Plus you get extra more things for privacy and whatnot. And if you use the service right now and you refer your friend, you can get 1 GB. You can get 1 GB of free network traffic to be used on WAP Plus, and it's actually pretty generous, 1 GB. So I already got 2 or so. Disclaimer, but they do not give me for the ads. I'm already testing it. I can't see noticeable network performance. Something I will look at it in the future, but
because they use the underneath technology is actually WireGuard, which is like it's not actually fully audited for security, but it's the latest technology for VPN. So it leverages some of the Linux kernel. I don't know. I don't remember what's the exact word, but it leverages the Linux kernel, so it's the sort of overhead is much lower, but it relies on Linux to operate properly.
Right. Okay, cool. So anything that's interesting from your side?
I think.
Okay, so the last one that's interesting is a Ruby developer take down the Ruby library when he found out that the US ICE is Immigration and Custom Enforcement agency use their library. I do not know. I don't have the detail for it, but did he take it down from the Ruby gems repository?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that's that. Okay, I think that's pretty much the news that I get lah. So a few others talking about that. Okay, so a few one might wonder what we're talking about, right? So next month is October. October, one of the big event is among the hacker community is Hacktober. It's actually sponsored by who sponsored it? Was it DigitalOcean?
No, Hacktoberfest is normally GitHub, right?
Yeah. GitHub have it.
They give you a nice GitHub T-shirt every year.
Correct. Hacktoberfest. The goal is horrible. Okay, so the reason for this is because we actually have had a topic on open source and how to contribute. Okay, so Hacktoberfest is actually supported by DigitalOcean and also Dev. Dev is a latest community, Dev community site where you actually submit your article for software developers only. So check them out. On Twitter, they call the Practical Dev. On internet, it's called dev.to. So Hacktober is an event where you do a sprint to actually contribute to open source code. So what does it mean by that? So you actually do things. What I mean here is you actually do. So there's two part of Hacktoberfest. One, you actually provide a space. Provide a space for people to gather. Then in between you do talk and whatnot to actually introduce people to the world of open source and how do you introduce code. Then in between you're going to try to resolve the issue on public open source repository. Then what happened then is you actually keep track of your contribution, and yeah, you get something out of it if you do something properly. So yeah, open source and stuff. Even though GitHub, I do not believe GitHub support it, but you effectively doing on GitHub because there's no other place to track it as well.
GitLab?
GitLab do that. Okay, maybe for that. I did. So either way, look at hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com. That will show you the information. It's one of those events where you commit code and do a pull request and hopefully they merge it and all that. But we as open source user for a long time will tell you it's easier, but it also depends on that. So yeah, let's talk about open source contribution. I think let's talk first. What's your open source contribution that you know of? That you remember?
My main open source contribution are bugs fixing for libraries that I use.
Yeah.
And also tickets, issue tickets. I contributed to the Python issue.
Oh, okay.
Some basically any libraries that I use, and if I encounter any bugs and nobody fixed it yet, then just stuff that I use mainly, not really something else. But I do. If I wanted to say major ones are the stuff I did for Sina project.
Okay. That's actually a very cool hack.
Watcher.
Yeah. That's actually very cool. I know that one. So what happened is when Sina project so Sina project is an organization I keep talking about. So you may find a few old episodes for it. But one of the things that everyone want to do is to have a street level issue tracker. Not software issue. This is your potholes, your drains, and whatnot. What is considered issue, and that's another story.
I can do a bit of elaboration on that afterwards.
Yeah, but what happened is we need some library and all that. So Chilong did a big work, very interesting. So for me, one of my big one is actually there's this library that is not used anymore. It's a chatting library. This is used in around 2007. So what happened is 2007 is where you don't have good library for chatting. The chatting library I actually use Flash. So what this library does is you have a Flash based code. They read from XML configuration, then they generate the chart. So I found a bug where the chart is not rendered properly. I commit a small configuration change. It got accepted, and yeah, that is actually done on SVN where I think it's SourceForge. I believe it's SourceForge.
Yeah. If it's before GitHub, it must be SourceForge.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a small one.
It got pretty nasty in the later stage though, where everybody is trying to get out of SourceForge.
Yeah. So you kids don't remember how it's like before GitHub?
Principle-wise, I don't recommend nowadays. I don't recommend people to use it because at one time they were trying to do like man in the middle, package some of their ads into the release. So I think they removed that, but it's the reputation is done basically at that stage.
Yeah. So it's also this is actually that's one reason why people moved to GitHub. But GitHub was there because of the UX and whatnot. Also, GitHub those things that bring the concept of pull requests.
Yeah. Also, GitHub is supposed to, when they first started, they advertise it as like the social media, but for developers. Like kind of they gamify or socialize this kind of code sharing.
Correct. But so here's the thing about open source contribution, right? There's this book. There's actually one of the places you want to learn about open source contribution is actually on the Linux group. So Linux packages, the Ubuntu community, the Fedora community has some very good guideline on how do you contribute to open source. Oh, I should not use code, but let's keep it there. They do about open source. They have a few things, sort of activities around open source contribution. For example, they have things like triaging issues. Let me find the link to Ubuntu contributors later. So you have things like triaging issues. What is triaging issues? Triaging issues is about, so often do you notice that when you report an issue, find a problem, sometimes people just it used to be that there's duplicate issues and all that. So triage is about remove duplicate of issues. GitHub has that easily in a way that it's called duplicate. So there's one triaging roles, but triaging issues also means that, let's say you know the behavior of the software library pretty well, and you notice that even though the behavior is slightly different, but essentially the same thing, you can triaging as the same issues. GitHub have it nowadays where you not just put a duplicate because of duplicate of something.
Basically for free. Last time we had to set it up like
correct.
I forgot what it's called. I forgot a lot of names of a lot of stuff.
Yes. That's how you actually close your issues, you see.
track from that is based on Python.
Yep.
Yeah, we have to set up something like this to do this kind of feature, but GitHub basically give you the whole thing free.
Correct. And it's actually pretty important because at those days we don't. Unlike now, where every time you had a problem, the first place you go is the issues. It's not so. It used to be finding issues on open source software is pretty hard. But
they send it over to via a mailing list. They call it like the CL, I forgot what's the change log.
Change
log. To submit something like then people are gonna apply the patch and review it manually.
Yes.
And it's for even I think Linux is still the same, right?
Yes, Linux is still the same because the component is very complicated. It's partly because of the structure. Smaller open source software don't actually have that anymore because the structure is very flat. But it's actually so there's one activity to do: triaging issues, find duplicates, manage it. If an issue is closed, close it and whatnot. So that's actually one thing that the Linux volunteers does. Those days it's not on GitHub. It's on totally different tool. It may be tracked on SVN and what other issue tracker do they? What other thing?
I remember there used to be several Ruby ones, but I forgot. I used some, but I forgot about them. Which are not exactly that relevant nowadays.
Correct. Nowadays, I don't like to say it, but GitHub is one. But actually, at that sense, Jira is not bad, but it's not used as often in open source software. But sometimes it is open for. Really? But it doesn't use as often. But that's that. But slightly off topic, Jira, the free Jira sometimes is used by game developers, so that the players will actually submit issues when they found it. It's pretty common nowadays. So this one are triaging issues.
More off topic. Last time you get paid for testing software. Nowadays you pay to test software.
Yeah. No, actually, you still get paid.
Last time you have to go through a list of selective procedure. So they're gonna choose whoever. I mean, if it's like a private testing, they're gonna pay you, or they're gonna do a private selection of players to do this. And nowadays you just open it up as early access, and people will pay for it.
Yes,
that's the stuff.
And this on games. Yes, correct. But that is only partially true because, more players cover more things, but they do not go to they do not actually go into very specific area. Whereas a game tester, they tend to go a very specific scenario. It's not too different. Believe it or not, it's not very different from how we test software. It's actually similar in a way that we have scenarios, and what scenario it is. So in this case, it can be like deep tests so that we have one turret versus multiple zero. Things like that.
Yep.
So the next one is
they still do that nowadays. So I'm not sure nowadays, as in a few years ago, but they only open up like certain feature for you to play, so they can force the issue out.
Yeah,
but not as common as like specifically you have to go there randomly to test it out. Okay, let's proceed.
Another thing that contributed to is okay. So I do not know which language do this, but it goes like this: you are somebody to verify an issue. Essentially, what you do is you go through an issue. If there is no test cases, you try to simulate those. Simulate the behavior, then report it, submit error log, screenshot, and whatnot to replicate the issue and give specific tests to do it. This actually happens because on Linux on Linux system especially, so even though the Linux community, Ubuntu and whatnot, is very technical, Ubuntu is a bit more open to non-technical person. It's assumed that only nerds use Ubuntu, but that's not the assumption we make in open source software. You see, even though the demographic tends to be technical, but we assume that the end user, whoever that use it, may be an end user. So a good example is your router. Sometimes people just flash it and that's it.
Most of the router source code are because of GPL. They must normally they are on GitHub. So at least when you need a certain module and stuff, you can actually flash it in. And if you want other people to benefit from it, you can fork it or you can just try to submit to upstream so other people can make use of it.
Correct. So one thing then is to provide tests, because sometimes people that actually submit those issues are non-technical person, but sometimes
I think let's backtrack a little bit. So what constitutes an open source contribution?
It's not necessary, believe it or not, currently I only talk about code level or somewhere around code level thing. After this, I'm going off topic away from Hacktober into things like meetups and whatnot. Those are the social part of it.
Yep. But in general, raising up an issue is a contribution.
Correct.
Localization
testing issue.
Yeah, testing is a contribution. Testing.
Localization is one.
Yeah. Localization, documentation, not just feature and bugs. So if there's actually a lot of people that are not technical that contribute to open source projects via this effort. And one very good platform, I'm not sure if it's still relevant nowadays for collaborative translation, is there's this platform called Transifex.
Yeah, so I believe it's still.
Yeah, I used to use it for Fix My Straight, but I think it's good to share this as well. So in case like people are looking for a way to collab on translations or localization, then at least there's a platform for it.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have to pay nowadays?
I don't know.
Oh, it's no longer free. Yeah, it's no longer free. So as in free beer.
But so just now covered issue. So what Chilam covered just now is something around code translation. There's actually a free translation engine. A lot of it is easy-ish. Even though without Transifex, you may do things like use a thing called get text. It's a way to actually get a translation of text. It's very simple. I guarantee.
Very simple, but still a bit tricky to work with.
Yeah,
but
correct.
To contribute to it is very simple. To build and to merge is another kind of monster. For the maintainer is a different kind of work, but it's for you to write in the translation is actually very easy. It's just do something like a dictionary table.
Yes. Make sure you take the right language and whatnot, etc., etc. So I already covered triage. I covered testing and verification and translation. What else around that? Packaging. The last one is packaging. Believe it or not, when you use a Linux system, especially you use a third-party repository.
Not necessarily Linux nowadays.
Yeah.
Even on Windows
it can
or Mac.
be Brew. Yeah, it can be a Brew on Mac. Windows have their own. In fact, Windows have a few open source repository now. Almost all of them are packaged by volunteers and they do it because the creator may not package an official version. But on the Linux-based system that I'm more familiar with is sometimes the local system configuration is not very conducive for the upstream version. When upstream version, I mean it's the version packaged by the creator of said software. So a good example is there's this software I use on Linux for managing photo called Darktable. So the thing is, on Ubuntu, they get a very stable version of Darktable. The reason is because the library I'm on LTS long-term support, so the library by comparison is a bit old. You need to compile that, so they go a bit more conservative. But there's a third-party packager on Ubuntu. It's called the PPA. On Fedora, I don't remember the name. So what this third-party packager does is they create a more updated version of it, so they can get the latest feature for Darktable. Another good example for third-party packaging is actually your on Ubuntu. It's actually easier to install your NVIDIA driver for deep learning using PPA versus doing it yourself.
So put it this way, like the software originally when they release it, it's not designed. It's only designed to work as you compile it and you run it manually. So people need to package it, like say Ubuntu, they have to match the current operating system, like just like how there's some minor difference between like Ubuntu and Fedora. So you have to do those changes. So that let's say like the configuration, instead of looking for the where the binaries, you have to know, like you have to package it so that it installed to a right directory. And also like you look up to the like proper configuration directory like etc instead of like the current location, and the binary in the bin instead of like I don't know where. Everything nice. Like if you have like something that you need to compile against the Linux kernel, then you have a DKMS setup as well. So packaging is still quite a lot of work for a software that is already running.
So correct. So operating system differences and whatnot. So those are the reasons why you do PPA. Packaging used to be a very popular contribution on the open source community, and actually it still is. If you use Linux example, quite a number of open source contributors are packages. You can see this on the number of PPA that actually updated and exist on Ubuntu, or the third-party one that I don't remember the name, on Fedora, the Red Hat based one.
The IPM Fusion.
So IPM Fusion. So, and you look at Brew. Brew have a lot of this as well, because Apple will remove third-party shells, dynamic languages, runtime on the very new version of Mac OS. So Brew and other third-party packages are the one that will provide the latest version of the.
When there's a version update, things will break. So those people actually work hard to make sure your stuff work on your latest operating system.
Correct. And they do it on their free time. So if you happen to know one, say thanks.
No, but they get paid for it.
Then finally, on the code contribution, then is the actual pull request lah. Those days we don't have the concept of pull request. We had a fork, then we email.
I don't think you have a fork. I don't think you have a fork before.
No, you create a patch.
I don't remember. I don't remember if forking was common before GitHub coming up.
No, actually you're right. Actually, you are very right, because the reason
because the other system was centralized, like SVN, CVS.
And forking is annoying.
Even branching is annoying.
So as a result, those days you're more likely to create a patch, generate a patch, go to the mailing list. It can be Google Groups. It's more likely to be Google Groups at my time. Previously, they have their own email mailing list. Listserv, that's the name. Was it Listserv? No, that's the IRC, right?
I have no idea.
They used to have a dedicated mailing list software. They need to configure in the server or that. So you not during my time around 2007, 2008, it's more likely to be Google Groups. So what you do is you send an email, attach a patch file generated using diff, then tell them what the problem you're trying to solve. Then the contributor would actually merge the code if they want to. So
Fun
it's
fact,
a very convoluted.
Fun fact, in case for people that didn't know, your Git diff is actually compatible with the diff tool. So if you pipe your diff out to a file, you can apply the patch. You send it to somebody, that person can apply the patch. So
correct.
That's how a diff look like.
Correct. Nowadays things are easier because nowadays everything is centralized in one place. It may not be, but it's effective centralized in a way that the version control hosting provider are doing everything for you. So for example, GitHub provide Git hosting, they provide issue tracking, then they provide the communication between tracking, then they handle the merging and all that on their website, on the whole hosting system. Things changed since then. It used to be like, let's say you want to do branching and all that on Git, it's pretty convoluted. Nowadays, you can create a fork from the original, create your own version. Then you want to merge it, you do a pull request. Pull request is very revolutionary. Those days to literally want a patch to be accepted, you need to email the contributor. The Linux kernel still use this model, by the way. Linux kernel still require you to talk to the person that responsible to the subsystem through email and submit.
I think because there's a lot of subsystem and because there's a lot of subsystem, and everybody has a different like specialization.
Correct. So the Linux still do it that way because their system is a lot more complicated, and also legacy. I suspect legacy and legacy as they had a legacy system that generated that is like this because of how they do their project management on the Linux system on Git, on their own version control system from before Git to on Git. So yeah, that's that. For a lot of us, small guys, our release source code, we are sufficiently small in a way that it really we are sufficiently small enough that it really doesn't matter. So we can anybody can create a pull request and tell me whether you want to do something. Then I just look at it. In fact, it used to be that to look at diff on a computer, you need to have use tools like various diff tools. At that time, I used a thing called Vim diff. It's a Vim like tool for comparing the diff files. Git help do it for you now, right? So you just compare it, then decide to merge or doesn't merge from there. It used to be the back. You have to go email, download the patch, apply the patch, look at the diff, apply the patch.
Yeah, I remember like even in the old workplace, we have a what you call it, a merge manager. That just his job is just to check all our patches and merge them into the production codes.
Correct. For small contribution code, we are very easy. If you're okay, just merge it in. If you do it properly, if you set it up right, here's the crazy part that they didn't really go away. A lot of us in the community already used to the idea of using CI tools that integrate together with GitHub to do this done. In many traditional environments, they still use Jenkins to run the unit tests and whatnot before it's okay to merge. So what they do is it can be many things. One of the things is you push, then they take the code, apply it, run the test, it tests okay, then they merge automatically or whatnot. That's the old days lah. Nowadays, you can potentially do everything on GitHub if you're open source. A bit more complicated, or if your project is proprietary, not by much, you can do that as well if you're willing to pay GitHub. So, and then it used to be merging is complicated because you need a merge manager, as Chilong said before. Big organizations have that. Essentially, what they do is it's called release management.
Release manager, yeah.
So
it's called release manager. It's called
so they're
release
saying
manager.
that, okay, this is the version that go in, what is go in, what is not. So then merge and go ahead. A lot of our sport project is small enough that it doesn't really matter now. Or more likely, if you're just Git properly.
I think more like the modern stacks are more suited towards what I call it, a DevOps kind of philosophy where all the developers can package the production by themselves instead of a separate, like a big role. Last time you need a really big role, dedicated role to do certain things, because I think like it's not easy to make it work in production.
Yeah, correct.
Then
because you have multiple email with multiple patch and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's that. So this code level contribution that I forget, and that I say, anything I forget?
No, you want to mention the what I call it, the community part now or afterwards?
Okay, so here's another thing that is not so well talked about in the technology scene, open source technology especially. The idea of an open source community, right? It used to be that we have a meetup, very common around the world. Meetup just on open source software. It's not just language. It can be things like how to set up a Samba server, right? This is for Windows sharing.
Yeah, install fast.
Install fast, because those days setting up Linux on your own computer is something that you really need to know. If you use Linux, you still have to do that, but nowadays the installation is easy enough that it either works or it doesn't.
Yeah, it's so much easier because now you have all those nice graphical installer that help you.
Correct. So it's hard to mess up. If you can boot the CD, it more likely will work.
Yeah, I think more like put the USB stick.
Yeah, correct. Yes. So if you can put it, it more likely to work. So most of the tools are a lot easier now, but we used to have that. And here's why. Often your open source project do not have a marketing department. They have a marketing group, but they do not have a budget of a marketing department. And imagine this, right? There is no way for a communities-based, a volunteer-based Linux distribution to have people talk about their version of Linux or open source tools around the world, where they don't actually have a marketing budget at all, right? So to do that, you actually had a thing called open source communities. And open source communities is essentially this. It's a group of people that are passionate about open source software and try to teach people how to use it. And it used to be, people might think about it like, why you do work for free? Well, the short answer is the code are often contributed by volunteers, and they're not selling it. They just give it for you, and you use it, and sometimes you help them back by say we had a problem. So it's a very interesting thing in the way that you own the software.
I think in the early stage, because people that do open source, they are small guys, and it's still pretty, what I call it, pretty close and personal with whatever the communities, because everyone was trying to solve some problem. like providing an alternative to some or big or enterprisey proprietary softwares.
Yeah. So yes, and at that time you really have to solve the problem yourself. You still do now, but not as much as those days. So imagine that you work in a small SME that don't actually have a big IT budget, and suddenly you have multiple computers that need to share a file. What are you going to do? You're going to install a Samba on the computer. But the thing is, the only computer you have is a small computers 2 generation back. So it can be like a 800. You're using a Celeron during those days, but the only computer you have is a 200 megahertz MMX, right? Pentium. So what are you going to do? So the only thing can run it is a Linux computer, running Samba on it, and you have to learn to do everything yourself because it's not packaged for you.
That's how Apache got. That's how the LAMP stack got big as well, because there was nothing much of a competitor to Apache, and it made the what they call it. There's a name for it before this cloud hosting. They call it shared host.
Shared hosting, correct.
The shared hosting, where it's actually you don't actually access to the server like we do nowadays with DigitalOcean or Linux, but you access them by uploading your PHP file to or CGI file to the web server via FTP. So literally, you are deploying directly to production.
Yes, and at that time, imagine that the year is 98. When
that's a bit old.
Dr. Mahathir. This story is very important. When the current Prime Minister during his previous era announced the multi-billion super corridor project, there's a big push for IT. Right? So everybody like, okay, our office need computers and all that. So to get a Samba server, your other alternative is actually 10,000. It's a very expensive Windows server that you don't have the budget to buy for. So that's the other alternative. It's the same for hosting. For hosting, it used to be like you need to buy expensive servers running on some Unix or some Windows. More likely Windows in Malaysia. On IIS, there is 10,000.
Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
We almost finished.
That's your alternatives, right?
And the way how I remember how the old web server, the enterprisey commercial web server out there last time, they charge you per user, like
correct.
How many connections. So if you have if you want to support like unknown number of users, then you need to pay have a pretty hefty price for the operating license.
And believe it or not, Oracle and IBM used to charge their database per core. As in those days, you only have one core computer to have multiple core, literally have put multiple CPU. Nowadays, there's this charge per core, which is crazy. So that's your alternative for database, okay? So you need a web server, fast right now. You got data center, get a cheap Linux machine, Slack in MySQL those days, Apache, PHP. You get something less than 1,000 ringgit because that's the budget you have for your IT department. But here's the catch. It's cheap, but also means a lot of it is DIY. Then you start a group, you start asking questions online, then you found out that there is a small group around, then you share information and all that. And you have to, because remember, you do not have an IT budget. The only way to learn is to share information with each other. Now you form a community. Then from there, you form a user group that share information, not just on Linux, because they may discover forum software they want to install that is open source, they need help, or they need some regular expression because there's a weird thing that people do not know about. So the point is, a lot of these open source projects do not have marketing budget, do not have a support budget at all, and we have to help each other. When we help each other, that's how you form communities, and we grow big enough to get open source conferences. And those days, open source communities, when we meet up like MyOS and all that, we do not limit ourselves with programming language or DevOps. or security whatnot. We cover a lot of stuff. We're talking about Linux. I remember Kyril used to share to us about FreeBSD and talk about container before Linux had containers, jails, BSD jails.
Chairs. Yeah.
Yeah.
He talked a lot about
Then we
clone
talk,
as well.
correct. But we also talk about Linux, PHP, MySQL have a lot of those. So we are not limited by tools, but the fact that the software need by unspoken rules that the software need
But
to have their
there's
source code open.
but there's also a lot of talk about what we are talking a lot recently as well on
Yes,
how to organize community and events. So
correct.
how to
Uh,
scale.
correct.
Apparently the
Uh,
scaling fails.
yes. Because you have to build a community to learn more. You see, you do not get to go to class to learn this. To learn this, you have to have
There was
meetups.
this saying
Then you get a computer.
there was this saying in the early days where in the Python community is that why anybody who's willing to pick up Python is hireable because you are not forced to learn it in school. So everybody who knows
Yes,
about Python they learn on their own time. So it means it actually just auto qualify a person just because of the willingness to learn a new technology on its own.
correct. So less toward a language and more toward your willingness to your passion in
Yeah.
technology. I kind of miss that because I kind of see the interest is on what you can do to build a website than how a language work. So that's that. Well, that's just me.
Um,
So I think we should go
uh,
to Tristan because it's late.
yeah. Just we're
Yeah.
Oh, you want some?
supposed very off topic from the supposedly talk about Hacktoberfest.
Mm-hmm.
What's the
But no,
plan
no.
for it as well? We're
It's more
supposed to
like
fin.
the idea is to yeah.
We're
The
supposed
big
to
idea
wrap.
is so that we want to talk about wrap things up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, are you on day three? Did we talk about
Yeah.
that?
Big
Day
three.
three. I think it's only swimming that's actually doing the strictly doing 100 days of code.
Yeah.
Yeah, I skipped today. But okay, so
Yeah.
Tristan,
It's a slippery slope. You're gonna
what's your first
skip
open source?
tomorrow.
Yeah.
First
So what's your
open
first open source
source.
contribution?
I forgot. I think it was it. So there is this. Back then, um, we generated passwords for users when they signed up, and
Mm-hmm.
we wanted like and our customers were not very that was like almost 10 years ago, so they were not
Yep.
considered to be tech savvy, so like
Mm-hmm.
60, 70 year olds, and so we wanted to give them a safe password but something that's also easily rememberable. And so
Yeah.
this is something like a password generator made up of happy words like uh, let's say romance amazing, and then first name
Mm-hmm.
Anna, romance Anna amazing or something like this, or brilliant Jimmy
Mm-hmm.
ferocious or something like that. So it
Okay. Okay. Okay.
combines your first name with like two like I think that was uh, a Ruby library or Ruby gem.
Mm-hmm.
What I can remember. I think that was it. Oh no, but that was for Ruby. Before that, I was doing some open source for um, an MMORPG.
Right.
So
What is it
that's something
called?
that I
I'm
usually don't talk
curious.
about. So that
Okay.
we can take that offline. I can talk about that
Okay.
more.
Okay.
That was an interesting time.
Okay.
So what's the experience like? Do you do your contribution pre GitHub or post GitHub?
Yeah. So before GitHub was SVN. Well, before SVN was PBS, and
Yeah.
it wasn't. So there's no So although there was source code, right? Yes, we
Yeah.
put everything there. It's not, there's no such thing as a pull request back then, and then no code
Yeah.
request.
Mhm.
So the way we shared code is posting diff on a forum. So
Yeah.
you
Oh,
post a
forum.
diff onto a like there's a code blocks or like BB forums or something, right? Or
Yeah.
B bulletin,
The
PHP
heyday of
bulletin.
forum.
Yeah,
Facebook
so
kills
you have
it.
a
Yes.
code block, you post your diff there, and then
Mm-hmm.
or like a patch, you upload a patch if it's too large for a diff, and then that patch gets like, okay, we'll put that in our own system, try to run that, and then um, see if it works or not. So that's basically how
Mm-hmm.
things were being shared. That was a time like what, 15 years ago already. A
Definitely more than
long
10.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was like 2003,
Interesting.
2004. Yeah, more than 15 years ago. So that was how we shared code back then.
Yep. So how about open source communities that you have participated or you organized? More importantly, you are involved, help out or organize.
So this was with the open source community that I was first. Like, I would consider major
Mm-hmm.
contribution I've had. That community was on IRC, and um, it was a fun uh, place because we'll have developers and we'll have users as well on the same channel. And
Mm-hmm.
there's always um, the ongoing joke of like new people coming in, not know protocols or the etiquettes. So there will be people like, "Hey, can I ask a question?" And then nobody can answer because
Mm-hmm.
like you can ask a question, but and then there was the topic was clear that don't ask if you can ask, and all of these things. So it was an interesting time back then.
Yeah.
Before there was Slack, there was IRC,
Mm-hmm.
and Slack.
Yeah, before Slack, that's IRC.
Yes. IRC is an awesome protocol. It's
Mhm.
simple.
Yeah, and there's a
Okay,
lot
let's
of
just
things that
off
has
topic.
been built on top of IRC. Like there's been all of those file downloading distribution
Mm-hmm.
bots as well for IRC. There's a lot of automation. Like before Slack was there was already like chat where you can deploy
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
stuff through IRC and then you can
Yep.
get status updates through IRC. So it's really uh, like all many of the ideas of chat happened uh, way back before in IRC, and it was
Mm-hmm.
a distributed platform. So the protocol is the same, but because it's open, unlike for example,
Mm-hmm.
for this, you can have the EFNet as an IRC server and have like Python or all of these separate things, but you can all use the
Mm-hmm.
same client, and you can have multiple connections to all of these servers, and they're all speaking the
Mm-hmm.
same protocol.
Yep.
It's
And
a good
it's
distributed
a it's something like, if I want to do a comparison, it is the similar technology with IRC nowadays is like MQTT.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like a pub sub, but that you can actually match together with other networks.
Yeah, like it's
Yeah.
like the Jabber, although Jabber didn't
Yeah.
really
Jabber. Yep.
um,
Jabber
Mm-hmm.
supposed. Yeah.
except PP, it didn't really take
Mm-hmm.
off.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yes.
really sad when Slack removed their IRC bridge. So I
Yeah.
was one of the users for that, but then they removed it. You
I think
can
I
you can
understand
understandable.
use
why.
an IRC client
Yeah.
to respond to Slack messages,
That.
which was a lot better because your IRC client, like you can have IRSSI, which is like a command line,
Mm-hmm.
a terminal based IRC client, which is very, very
Mm-hmm.
low memory footprint. Unlike, for example,
Yeah.
Slack, which is an electron takes up
Yep.
all of the memory of the computer.
Yep.
Correct. So there's that.
Yeah, so
So
those are memories of open source back then.
so we have 5
Yes.
more minutes to wrap up. Anything from
No, I'm asking Timeng, what have you done with your
Okay.
Azure device?
Okay. It gonna be
I suppose to set up the open the Active Directory. Then I link the device. That's my first thing I need to do.
okay. I was I
But to do that,
I haven't even touched it.
You
I
haven't
need to
even
borrow
claimed your
my.
device yet.
No.
So I need to use my brother's computer
You know, they
because
extended. Yeah, so they extended the thing to October, end of
Okay.
October. You still have time.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
can
yeah.
start
So
So the
a
thing
proper
is,
fast.
it's annoying that I have to borrow a Windows machine to do it
mhm.
because of the IDE and stuff.
You know,
But
you
I
don't have
also
to
get
participate in the what do you call this, in the daily connection. You know, you can just do something with it.
no. That's the point. I need to still set up the environment and all that.
Mm,
Then I can do the code, then upload it later. So I wish the
okay.
tool chain I don't not tied to an operating system so much. I don't
Yeah.
think it's necessary at all. So
Well, it is
yeah,
not necessary, but because it's a new chipset, and it
yeah,
was, and I probably most embedded software developers or like hardware stuff, they actually use Windows machines. All of the
yeah,
stuff
yeah, yeah,
are
yeah. I
Windows,
understand that part.
so it makes
The
sense.
target is not the target is not people like us. It's the
Yeah, it's
professional
really,
hardware
it's the
developers.
hobbyist market that are looking for alternatives like Mac or Ubuntu system.
Yeah,
But embedded
correct.
uh, development actually happens in Windows.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
some of the
So
most of the compilers.
so Hacktober, what you want to do?
I don't know yet.
Hacktober, please.
I'm looking into like different various languages to run on microcontrollers. So remember we talked about breakable toys way back in
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, yeah.
early podcast for DevKami, and I think for microcontrollers the air quality Honeywell sensor would be
Mm-hmm.
my break. So it's basically re-implementing the same thing in various different languages and various different
Yeah, 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 yeah.
microcontrollers to understand how does the language behave and how does. So right now I'm doing C++ and that things. I was trying out Go, but I couldn't run it on the
Yeah.
Nano. So yeah, I can
Mm-hmm.
lend you some of my Arduinos. I have quite a lot.
I have a Uno, but I don't remember where I put it. I think it's in Sina's office.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then of course the MicroPython. That's why I was putting those thoughts. The ESP8266. So MicroPython
Mm-hmm.
runs on that. So trying that out instead of just doing an air purifier. Sorry, an air quality monitor.
Mm.
I'm trying to implement that protocol. uh, So all of
I
the
think we
Mm-hmm.
commands
still have
will
an. I
anywhere.
think we still have another of the sensor in the office. So
Mm.
yeah, I
And
probably
I
can
posted
charge up.
something on the Slack channel. Element 14 is running a sale. It's half off the one inside. That you don't get the, I suppose, the
We still have one extra that we didn't use that.
mm,
So let's check it out. Is there is a site wide sales or just for
mm,
the sensor?
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and in case
I
women
think it's
didn't
for
know,
Honeywell.
M5 Stack retweeted your post on your project.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that.
Yeah, it's
They're
normal. So
I know the guys online because I really like their stuff. I really like their stuff.
Mm.
Just the M5 guys. Their project is hackable, but you don't have to assemble everything from scratch.
apparently
Mm.
It's
Citron is having
fully
a sales
modular.
as well. Really?
1010. I
October
know.
10, I think. Yeah.
Damn.
So we'll see.
So, but
I don't
Let's
know what
see.
else
uh,
they're like. I already have most of their catalog, so I don't know what else I'm going to get.
yeah, if you're robot thing, probably that's it lah.
If you're still looking
So
for the
meanwhile,
Raspberry Pi, then maybe
yeah.
it's just
So
another thing.
that's
I
it.
think I will do something with the Raspberry Pi Zero. maybe with the air
Yeah.
air quality. I already had it
Yeah,
running
that would
there
be
actually.
interesting. Hmm.
So that's the
Okay.
problem there is that the wiring Pi guy is deprecating the library. So I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know
this is big news.
what
This is big
kind that.
news.
Speaking of open source, right? I wouldn't know what other library to use that
Hmm.
is not necessarily Python related because most of the GPIO libraries are with Python, but I need something
Yeah.
that's not necessarily with Python. Like I want Ruby
Uh,
bindings or Go bindings, for example.
I will share you a book that contain this information later. I will add this to a link. I get it from Humble Bundle, but it's about programming the Raspberry Pi with C.
Mhm.
So there will it's a very low
Without
level
an
thing.
operating system.
No. It's still on Linux, but you essentially pipe it to /proc or /c something.
Mm. So you're using the device mapping.
Yeah, I don't think you need C
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You just need anybody
No.
anything that reads.
The C book contains that information.
Oh, okay.
So it's a
Yeah.
very short book. That's it. I think that's pretty much it. I hope that everybody that happens to still listen that is not watching Firebase thing, tell us your Hacktoberfest. Tell us
Yeah.
where is the local Malaysian Hacktoberfest
Yeah, but we
event.
want to attend some of
There,
it.
yes, I might do a Sina project based work there because our code is dying on Sina project.
Yeah. Some of the code are
So,
very hard to maintain. I
Mm.
want to modernize
so
some of the
yeah,
Python code I wrote for Sina as well.
so
Python
I might use that,
2.6.
and that thing is a bit cheating in a way because the thing is cheating in a way because I'm the person that have merge privilege either
Oh,
way.
it's fine.
So tell us.
Swimming, put it this way. I'm gonna do a pull
Yeah,
request. You're gonna approve mine, and I'm gonna approve your pull request.
yeah.
We're not gonna cheat. and also,
So
and
yeah, I
also,
think that's
Malcolm is
all.
the. If you notice at the DevKami GitHub repo, Malcolm actually suggested a project. So check it out.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
really?
Okay.
yeah.
I haven't seen the repo in a long time.
Yeah,
Yes.
he suggested a
Oh, yeah. So
project
we
to
need to do something about that
the
that
website.
podcast
Yep.
because it's all
Yeah.
automated in the background. It's just someone
Yeah.
just needs to go through and
Yeah.
put
I
in the
think I
basic
need.
IDs.
I think I just discovered that I need the access to the build server. Is it on Netlify?
Yeah, it's on
Okay.
Netlify.
Yeah. I think
I
you need
will.
to add some of us in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess I should have used. I think this is on my personal account. So I think I will need to create an email, a shared email that we can use,
Mhm.
and I'll just go
Do
through
they
the
have a
source
team
code.
support for Netlify? So
I don't
like
think we're
just
paying for Netlify.
okay. Oh, you need to pay to get that
Okay.
kind of okay. So let's continue
So let's
afterwards.
say
Let me just say
yeah.
goodbye to the
So
podcast
yeah,
first.
enjoy your Hacktober
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Don't
somehow.
Bye.
forget to like, share,
Yes.
and subscribe.
Yeah.
Yes. I know it's a mess today, but that's it.
That's how it's
Bye.
not